Hi everyone. In the upcoming videos, I will talk in detail about effects. This is one of the most important topics in the pattern engine. You can use them to control the pattern to a great extent. We have 4 types of effects: gradient, random, expression, and shape. I will talk about each type in a separate video, but I wanted to explain how effects work in general in this video and clarify a few things. To add an effect to a certain value, it must have the FX icon next to it. You click on it, and then a window called the Effect Editor appears. From there, you can add any of these types. You can also add more than one type and mix them together. For example, you can add a gradient effect and then add an expression effect and blend them from here. Once you add the effect and it's active, a green mark appears next to the FX icon. This indicates that there is one or more active effects in the effect editor. If some effects are inactive while others are active, this mark will change and turn yellow. If all of them are inactive, this mark will turn red. This is an indication that shows you the status of the effects on the value from the outside. You can also right-click on the FX button and copy the effects inside and paste them into any other value. You can paste and replace. It will replace the existing effects. You can also clear all the existing effects, or enable or disable all effects. This was, in general, a clarification for some options in the UI. So what is an effect exactly, and how do they work? An effect is a modifier that alters the base value. For instance, like this depth value, so that the items take different percentages of the same value in different places in the array, depending on how each effect works. For example, when we talk about the gradient effect, here it affects the scale value gradually. It takes 100% from the bottom of the array and starts with a decreasing value until it reaches the minimum limit of the value. Some effects take a minimum and maximum range, like gradient and random. And there are other types, like expression, which don't have a minimum and maximum range, but they are handled either manually, like expression, or through a shape, like this one. Let's quickly discuss examples of the gradient effect. As we just said, the effect here affects the scale value gradually in the y direction or in the vertical direction. Here, we have the angle value being affected in a horizontal direction. It starts at 90 degrees and starts decreasing until it reaches 0 in the x or horizontal direction. Here we have the value of depth starting. Its maximum value starts from the center and then starts to decrease gradually until it reaches the lowest value at the edges. The random effect affects the values randomly. It takes a minimum and maximum range, and it starts to distribute random values within the existing range. Here, it affects the flip y. Here, it affects the depth. We also have the expression effect, and this one works manually by writing specific ratios in the x or in the y. For instance, here it affects the item's angle. The first item has an angle of 45, and then this one has a 0 angle. So the expression in this case would be 100, 0, 0. It takes 100% of the 45-degree angle, and after that, it takes a value of 0. Here, this expression affects the flip y value. And here, the value is 1, 0, and it starts repeating. 1 means that it is flipped, and 0 means that it is not. Here, it affects the value of the slope angle through the expression. It starts by taking a value of 180, and then 0, then 180 and 0, and so on. We also have the shape effect, which affects a value through a shape, like this square shape. So all the items that are inside this shape are affected by a certain ratio of the value. These have a smaller scale than the items outside the shape. The same thing applies here, but with a circular shape. And here, this is affecting the slope in a square shape. Here we can also blend more than one effect together. For instance, this one has both a gradient and a shape effect. The gradient is affecting only inside the square. Here we have expression and random effects combined. First, the expression distributes the scale like this, and then comes the random effect to distribute random values in specific columns only. Here we have an expression and gradient. Same idea, but here an expression is affecting the slope like this, and also a gradient is affecting certain areas. Okay, we have two types of values, a numerical value like this, and this is affected by percentages. For example, 100%, 50%, a percentage of the base value. And we have values like the flip y or the concave mode. This is something in programming called a Boolean value. This takes only true or false, meaning either the item has flip y applied or not. So, for example, if we were to create an expression effect, you'll notice here that there is no percentage. No, it just takes a value of 1 and 0. 1 means flip y is enabled, and 0 means it's not. And you can start to control this in a very simple way. This was a general introduction to effects. We will talk about each type in a separate video. See you in the next video, God willing. Thank you for watching.